Call the meeting to order. Item 3, roll call.
Chairperson Randall.
Here.
Vice Chairperson Portis.
Here.
Members Anderson. Here. Sandal.
Here.
Fortune. Roland.
Here.
And Simon.
Here.
Okay, item 4, pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 5, moment of reflection or prayer. Does anyone have anything prepared?
Lee? Lord, lead us tonight in our thoughts and our words. Help us to guide each other and make each other stronger. Amen.
Thank you. Item 6, conflict of interest. Is there any? Okay. Item 7, approval of new agenda. Any additions or corrections?
Okay, I have two things, that didn't get added on. Madison McLaughlin, I sent you all her copy of her resignation for junior high volleyball. And also I sent you a copy of the Indian lands policy. The only update I made on it is for, the date, today's date, but that is for impact aid.
So you wanna add the volleyball resignation?
The
under
volleyball
consent?
in the consent, in the Indian lands policy at 15A.
Okay. Any other additions to the agenda? Okay, is there a motion to approve as amended? And second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Item 8, new business, none? Okay. Item 9, approved consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Was that
Motion,
you, Spencer?
Yes.
Spencer and
Carolyn.
Carolyn, sorry. Motion carried. Item 10, open forum.
No.
Get one sign, okay?
But I think we were gonna talk about that for just to update what we can't talk about personnel, I mean, students, families, and at that time, we don't have any debate, we're just making that clear. We
Right.
can't respond, so I think we should probably maybe just do that every time, so keep it clear, so.
Okay. Item 11, FY 21 audit presentation, ELO, CPAs, and
I'm
advisors.
turning it off. Oh, sorry, guys.
No, that's all right.
Well, do you wanna push it down till later and we go through the surplus list?
Yeah.
You wanna just keep moving on, and then when Amy gets it, the Zoom pulled up with ELO, we just jump back to them?
Have
Fine
a
with
little
everybody?
technical difficulty.
Are they coming?
No, they're doing it Zoom.
Oh.
I think we got it.
There you are.
What's that? I don't know why.
Are they on?
There they are.
There they are. All right, we're in good shape. I don't know what side you're.
Hi, Jessica. Hold on just a second. We're having technical difficulties here. Oh my gosh. Now I'm having issues. Come here.
Guys, can you say something?
In the lobby, I don't know if you have to
There
admit
you
it.
go, we gotcha.
Okay. Luke is waiting in the lobby, I think. I don't know if you have to admit him
Oh,
or something.
got it, yep.
Right.
There we go. Hi, guys.
Hello.
They can hear you and see us, so go for it.
All right, we'll get started then. Yes, hello, I'm Luke Howard with ELO, and Jessica Sheridan is joining us as well. We were the audit team that conducted the audit. I think we came out there in October this year, so we did the majority of the field work in October. I'll start with kind of what we call the governance letter, just kind of highlight some of the things on that. So the governance letter, basically, the intention is to provide the communication to the board and discuss different qualitative aspects of the accounting policies of the school district, along with if there's any difficulties encountered in the audit, or if there's any corrected or uncorrected misstatements, different things like that. And so I'll just kind of highlight some of the main parts of that. The most significant estimate affecting the financial statements of the Wall School District is the estimate of the unavailable revenue. It's based on the modified accrual basis of accounting. We evaluated key factors and assumptions used to develop the unavailable revenue in determining what is reasonable in relation to the financial statements taken as a whole. And so just to make you guys aware of that, it is an estimate that we do every year on this audit. Now, difficulties encountered in audit, we didn't have any difficulties encountered during the audit. Now, going down to the corrected or uncorrected misstatements. So we're required to communicate any corrected or uncorrected misstatements that we identified during the course of our audit. And just to list kind of the adjustments we made, we call them misstatements, but they're just really the adjustments that were recorded to the Wall School District's books, and they're related to the OPEB liability. This is one we do every year. It's related to the post-retirement benefits for one past employee's health insurance. We had one other adjustment, accounts payable, report of payable, and then along with some equipment that was placed in service prior to year end of the school district. And then there was also, I think, an accounts receivable adjustment reported as well. Those were the actual adjustments that were made. Now, I think attached, the last page is what we call a past audit adjustment. It's technically a misstatement, but didn't rise to the level where we would say you have to report it for the financials to be materially correct. And so it wasn't adjusted, but we are required to communicate that to you. And so that is listed there, and it's to impute interest on the 0% loan. All right, and moving on to, there's another letter. This one is actually to kind of communicate any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in internal controls of the school district. I'll touch on that when we cover our audit as well, but this letter just kind of highlights that there is what we call material weakness, and now it's not uncommon for a school district your guys' size to have these, but we are required to communicate that to you. And so there's a lack of segregation of duties, and then also the preparation of financial statements and footnotes is done by us. And so again, that's common for a school district your size, but we are required to communicate that to them. So after the letters, now we can jump to the financial statements themselves. I'll start with going on to page 1. That is the independent auditor's report on internal control over financial reporting and on compliance, other matters based on audit of financial statements performed in accordance with government auditing standards. And so Basically, again, just to highlight, we're gonna go down to the, underneath the internal control of our financial reporting section of that report there. We did identify certain deficiencies in internal control, and as described in the accompanying schedule of finding and question costs as items 2021-01, 2021-02, that we consider to be material weaknesses. So if you want to move to page 3, those are the schedule of findings. And so, finding number 1 is there's just a lack of segregation of duties. And again, it's a repeat finding from last year. Not uncommon for a school district your size, but you should be aware of it. So, and again, finding number 2 is the preparation of the financial statements. Footnotes is done by us, the auditors. And so, again, it's a repeat finding, same as last year. And again, not uncommon for a school district your size, but just so you need to be aware of it as a board. All right, page 4, the independent auditor's report. So we've audited the accompanying financial statements of the governmental activities, the business type activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of Wall School District as of and for the year ended June 30, 2021, and related notes to the financial statements, which collectively comprise the school district's basic financial statements as listed in the table of contents. Management's responsibility. Management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of these financial statements in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. This includes the design, implementation, and maintenance of internal control relevant to the preparation and fair presentation of financial statements that are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. The auditor's responsibility. Our responsibility is to express an opinion on these financial statements based on our audit. We conducted our audit in accordance with auditing standards generally accepted in the United States of America and the standards applicable to financial audits contained in government auditing standards issued by the Comptroller General of the United States. Those standards require that we plan to perform the audit to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements are free from material misstatement. We believe that the audit evidence we've obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for audit opinion. In our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of the governmental activities, business type activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of Wall School District as of June 30, 2021, and the respective changes in financial position and, where applicable, cash flows for the year that ended in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. We do have an emphasis of matter paragraph that I'll highlight here too, as well as it's a standard change. So as discussed in note 14 to the financial statements, in 2021, the school district adopted Governmental Accounting Standards Board, WSD, statement number 84, fiduciary activities, which has resulted in a restatement of the net position as of July 1, 2020. Our opinions are not modified with respect to this matter. So basically, you did have a clean opinion, which is what you want. So starting on page 6 now is all of the management discussion and analysis, MD&A. I'm going to skip ahead and kind of start with page 17, which would be the statement of net position. Government-wide. Just going to highlight some of the big changes from the prior year. Total assets are up from 15.7 million the prior year to 16.2 million this year. Total liabilities are down over 800,000 from the prior year to 790,000 this year, and your total net position for the year ended up being 14,758,000. Next page, page 18, statement activities, the government-wide financials. The far left column there, you'll notice the expenses. Total expenses were down about 160,000 from the prior year. And then also, you look at the kind of bottom right there, if you see the total general revenues and gains of 4 million. That is actually 150,000 higher than the prior year as well. So that all kind of resulted in a change in net position for the year, the school district, of 369,000. I guess one of the biggest changes for revenue side of the school district was there was some COVID money that was received. That's kind of one of the major factors there. Starting on page 19 are all the what we call fund financial statements, governmental funds, things like that. I'm not really going to touch on much of that. As a board, if you look through it and you have questions, feel free to reach out to Amy or us, and we can get back to you with answers there. So I'm probably going to jump now to the notes of the financial statements, and from there we'll kind of highlight some of the different things, changes from prior year, things like that. So starting at note 1 is on page 29. This basically summarizes the significant accounting policy of the school district. Nothing major there. The only major change related to that would be some of the, what used to be called the fiduciary accounts, agency fund. Like I mentioned before, in note 14 we'll cover that, where that changed just with our government standard change, that GASB number 84. Note 2, deposits and investments. This is pretty consistent, I believe, nothing significant there. Note 4, which is on page 39. So this highlights the changes in the capital assets of the school. No significant purchases. There's 88,000 of equipment added this year. The biggest change, obviously, you see the large decrease in the net PP&E, and that's just related to the depreciation taken for the year, and that was over 400,000 in depreciation expense. And then down at the bottom there, you'll see how depreciation expense was charged to each of the government functions. Moving on to the next page, page 40. That note 4 is continued there, and this is just for the business type activities, proprietary funds there. So, note 5 lists the long-term debt, and you know the one past adjustment was related to the 0% loan, and so obviously we didn't adjust it, but that's what that one past adjustment was, since it is a 0% interest loan. But you'll notice 90,000 was the payment on that. So the ending balance of the year of 375,000. And again, 90,000 is again due within 1 year. Note 5 is continued on in the next page. It lists out that 0% note payable, and also other things that are considered as debt for the school district would be those OPEB obligations, and along with the compensated absences, so sick leave or paid time off for the school is also listed there. Moving on now to page 42. This is, these notes here are all consistent with what's been in the past. Just lists out the restricted net position of the school district. Note 7 describes the property tax levies the school receives. Note 8 is kind of a big one. Describes a lot of the pension plan for the employees of the school district. Nothing major there. In that note 8 lasts multiple pages there. On page 45, it kind of starts listing more of the actuarial assumptions used to get the calculations of kind of the deferred inflows and outflows of the pension plan. I'll probably jump more to page 47. And just kind of the note 9 then starts there, and lists kind of the joint venture the school district is in with the Black Hills Educational Benefits Cooperative. Nothing major. Note 10 describes the OPEB benefit for the health insurance. Sorry, that's note 10 is just the risk management note. I believe that's pretty consistent as well. Note 11 kind of lists the concentrations of the school district it just says the district is dependent upon program revenues and operating revenues from the state of South Dakota for its primary existence. It's required to note that, obviously if state funding ceased, the school district would obviously have a difficulty, meeting all its obligations. So, note 12 then is the post-employment healthcare plan. It starts on page 50. This kind of describes the obligation there, different assumptions again, as that note continues on to page 52. Note 13 just kind of lists with the pandemic, there may be some uncertainties related to markets and things like that that could come up. Note 14 now is kind of what I was going to highlight here. That's with the new GASB 84. So notice the restatement implementation new standard. If you compare it to the prior year report, where there's the agency funds, the cash is listed and then the liabilities for the same amount are listed as offsetting. But now basically there's no liabilities. It's now listed as equity of the school. So that'd be the one major change you'd see there. Note 15 just lists the subsequent events, and we evaluated events to the date of the auditor's report, and there was nothing necessary to disclose through that. There is required supplemental information that follows. Not really going to touch on any of that, but again, as you guys look through that, if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to reach out to us or Amy, and we can definitely answer questions related to those. That's all I had. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them now. If there are, I'm not hearing any. So again, if you have questions that come up after the fact here, feel free to reach out. We'd be more than happy to answer those for you. Again, thank you guys. It was great working with Amy and the school again this year, and so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you guys. We're probably gonna jump off here then if there's nothing else for us, so have a good rest of your night.
You too. See ya.
Thanks, guys.
That takes care of that, right? We don't need to approve it or anything.
And if you guys have any questions about, I know that is pretty cumbersome, so if you could take that home and have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and if I can't answer them, they're really good about getting back, so. Overall, we're up, our cash is up, so that's a good thing.
We do that every year, right? Because of the finance impact.
We, by law, we're required to do an audit every 2 years, but most schools in the state do it every year. And most government entities do it every year, so.
Well, I think that they say, like, the other day I got to spend the training, said it's hard to recollect what happened 2 years ago, so we came here, so.
Yeah. They did, I did print it out. So you received the surplus list. I think there's 3 different things from, that Coach Heather, or Lex Heathershaw put on there to be surplus this month. There it is.
So with the last item of football helmets, are we trying to sell them for that price? Or to a different
No,
school,
they're
or-
obsolete anywhere they have to be. They have, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, they
Oh, I
have a
see it over
certain
here now.
shelf life, but shelf life and then you get it.
Make a motion to approve the surplus items.
Second it. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Item 13, adoption of administration evaluation policy, file CI, and physical force policy, file JEA.
Okay, those were for the accreditation review, they had, references that were needed on there, and, so the physical force needed, this law referenced on it. And, staff evaluation, the administrative staff, that breaks down who is considered administrative staff. And we both needed both those updates for the accreditation review, so we can upload them and be ready for our 3-month window, which is the first week of February.
I don't know if this has to do the same thing, but like, I see you have a performance, is this for later or for now, this evaluation?
That's for later.
Okay.
So this is the third reading of both of those, right? Does
Yep,
it need to be
final
done by
approval.
February? Motion that we approve them.
What's that?
I'd motion that we approve them both.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Item 14, approve the 2021-22 Wall School District excuse me, improvement plan.
Okay, Mr. Sikora will take over on this. This is the update. This approval again will go for the, accreditation, is what we're.
Capsule is no longer
Sorry, go ahead, Chuck.
This is a document that we need to have for our accreditation plan. And, it's pretty much updated every year somehow for a little bit every year. And, this year, I think really the only updates that I put on were, the goals. Did I talk to you guys about the goals last time? Where by law, every Student Succeeds Act, the goals are set, and we have to make sure that those who aren't proficient, half of those who aren't proficient become proficient the next year. So if we have 100 students and 80 of them are proficient, 20 aren't, this spring, then by next spring, we have to make sure that 10 of those 20 aren't. And the percentages are kind of confusing because they don't go right straight across the board, because we have students who transfer, move from the elementary to the middle school. And when I redid the goals, I looked at, for instance, what 5th grade going into 6th grade needed to do, and I looked at the numbers rather than percentage. So it's kind of a confusing. So I think this year's 6th grade has, what, 18 students? And then, so if last year we had 18 students in 5th grade, and 6 or 10 were proficient, 8 weren't. So by the end of this next test, we have to make sure that 4 of them move from the not proficient into the proficient area, and that's how come we don't go like, well, last year we were 80%, so next year we have to have 90%, and the next year 95%. So that's why it's not a stair step, clean.
So it's not necessarily dependent on just those 10 kids. So it could be whatever. You come in the next year and you have 8 of those kids are not proficient, but 2 of them are, but you maybe have 2 that fall different too. It's just an overall percentage.
Yeah, we have to make sure that the kids who aren't proficient become proficient every year. And I think, I don't remember exactly, things changed so much in that law that we might be expected if they're, because the proficient, the basic, it's the, where they're set 4 levels. Level 4 is the highest, level 3 is the next highest, of course, and those 2 are proficient. Then we have level 2 and is not proficient, level 1 is basic. And I think we need to work to make sure basic kids move into, the 1, move into the 2, but I don't believe anything is set in law that way, for sure. But I see that coming down the road here soon too, so. But those are the changes that we made, the goals, so.
Any other questions?
And then this summer, I think, I visited with, Mr. Ragland and Dr. Pittman, and this summer, we're gonna look for a way to include the comprehensive needs assessment, the school improvement plan, the strategic plan, technology plan, all that into one document, so that we can look at it, so like if we do a purchase for technology, we can see where it's needed and how it'll fit into our school improvement. I was talking to Dr. Pittman, and she said that's this summer project, so.
For everything together. So, but we need board approval so that we can upload the document into the accreditation review.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 15, approve the April 12, 2022 election and combined election agreement with the City of Wall and Town of Boston.
You guys received that in your board packets. That's just, us agreeing to, combine with the City of Wall for the election and to share expenses for the, election with the City of Wall and the Town of Wassa for an April 12th election. That agreement was sent in your packets and Josh has it to be signed. It's been approved by the City of Wall and the Town of Wassa.
Basically the same as what it has been.
Yeah.
I still move to approve it.
Okay.
Any discussion?
Who's up for election on our board?
We have Carolyn, Tommy, and Rich.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Looks like I need to sign all 3 of these, one for each. Item 15A, Native American Policies and Procedures Impact Date.
This is the same policy, it just needs to be approved each year. The only thing that I had changed on this from the past is updating this date on here. And, that will set me up to work on the date application.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 16, K through 5 Principal Report. Mr. Sikora?
Okay, tomorrow's the end of the second quarter / first semester. Report cards will be sent home the 20th. Any parents or guardians who have questions about a grade are encouraged to contact the teacher. Next week, we'll be in Rapid City working on a comprehensive needs assessment. According to the schedule that we got from the state, what we'll be doing is analyzing and triangulating the data that we have so that we can prioritize our needs. And from there, we'll be about halfway done in the process. And once we get, I think we need to get a little further before I have enough information to send an update out to the community. And that's all I have now. Any questions?
All right, thank you. Item 17, 6 through 12 Principal Report. Mr. Ragland.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple of things to report. As we get to the end of the first semester, the college dual credit classes completed before Christmas. We were on the college schedule, and we have received grade updates on those. We had 37 dual credit classes, and 95% of the kids in those classes received either an A or a B. And those would have been in the area of Spanish, accounting, consumer math, and intro to business. So that was a pretty encouraging report to have. Let's see here. Seemed like there was something else I wanted to make sure. CNA report, the high school, middle school is in the same place where the grade school is. We're working on those together. So we'll have dual reports whenever we're able to do that. And then the last thing to share with you, and it surprises me how quickly this has happened, and I can remember it being one of my first meetings. Tomorrow, we have two students, two seniors that will graduate. They will finish their high school careers at Wall High School, and that is Carter Fortune and Samantha Rancor. So I know the board approved those back in August, and tomorrow's the day. Hard to believe. So, when you see those students, you may want to give them a pat on the back. So that's all I have for that, sir.
All right, any questions for Mr. Agnew? All right, thank you. Item 18, business manager report.
I'll try to make mine short and sweet too. Last month, I reported that there was a potential because of us receiving an increase in special ed revenue that we may not meet our maintenance of effort and thus have to return some of those federal sped funds. We were able to, along with some help from Rhonda Edgar, find some exceptions. So what that means is the state agreed that because we spent more money, we don't have, in certain areas, we don't have to return that money. So we don't have to return the 7,000 and change that I reported last month. So that's a good thing. The other thing, as the auditors talked about, there was a last year, some servers that were on our ESSER 2 application were ordered early and received early. Therefore, we weren't unable to use our ESSER 2 grant to pay for those servers. So what we will be doing is we will be amending our ESSER 2 application to, instead of buying servers, we're gonna be using that money to buy high school computers for the students. So it's just kind of a transfer of money, but because the feds have such strict rules on how and when you can spend the money, that's why we had to. So you'll see that the servers are in the FY21 or last year's expenditures instead of this year that they were budgeted for. So, and we had enough funds and didn't have to do a budget supplement of any sort, so. I just wanted to let you know, and they did talk about that, just touched on it in the auditor report, so. Do you have any questions about that?
It's just kind of wash, basically, because you'll end up putting it towards the high school.
Yeah, the high school, they'll be for high school computers next year. So we have until, FY23, which is next fiscal year, to spend the ESSER 2 funds. And so those ESSER 2 funds will be spent on those computers. So they're both capital projects, they're both technology, it's just, it was just a week. They were purchased and received too early, so. And that's all I have.
Okay, any questions for Amy?
Maybe after I look through this.
Right?
Yes, and I can send out, you know, I hate to bore you guys to death, but, and I can talk about it in committee too, with the budget committee. The highlights, they highlight the things they are required to highlight, and I can talk more about, how our cash changed from last year to, or FY20 to FY21, which is probably where you guys are more interested, and I can do that next meeting and have those numbers for you.
Okay, thanks. Item 19, superintendent report. Dr. Pittman?
Yeah, first of all, I emailed you dates that I am going to be gone on a personal vacation. It's 4 consecutive school days instead of 5, it's in my contract. But I'm just notifying you attended the FLISA conference via, Zoom. It was very interesting. One of the things that's going on that we need to be aware of for federal lands is that they're only, proposing a $1 million increase instead of their normal 2 million, and they're stating that that 1 million difference is because you received COVID money. FLIS is coming back and saying that money was for COVID reasons. This is, impact aid monies that is normally involved. I did learn that when a new school gets brought into FLISA, that doesn't affect what we have because it's all about the equation and the acres and so forth. I've been working on the impact aid application, but then in December, the Senate passed the bill to allow us to roll over our data from 2019. So then I put it aside for a while, but it's not gonna go to the House till the 18th, and the application's still due the 31st, so I went back to work on it. So I'm not sure where that is just yet. The FLISA conference, or the NAFIS, I'm getting my, the NAFIS conference in March is the 13th through the 16th, if anyone's interested in going. But I will give you a heads up, in February, you're required to have a COVID vaccine in the city of Washington, D.C. So if you're interested in going, let me know. I would like to attend again, but you can let me know later on. Other things that are going on, we started discussing in-service, or we worked a schedule out for in-service. Originally, when I started this summer, I was told that it was set up between Phillip and New Underwood and Kadoka and us, and we would have a joint in-service. And we were gonna listen to a speaker at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's an hour and a half. Now, we've requested that we can join by Zoom, so we can watch the in-service from 8 to 9:30, and then go back to work on some of our district needs. We got some projects, including the comprehensive needs assessment, you know, get ready to start filling out requisitions, go through the school calendar proposal for next year and things like that. So, we just, as administrative team, feel it'd be better to just stay home and hopefully join the presentation via Zoom. I also have a couple of facility use agreements. Now, going to the facility use agreement policy, you have the rent-free and the charged activities. What I'm accustomed to is there's just one application, and I bring the application to the board to waive the fees if it's an activity that benefits our kids. I see that you have two of them. One's the rent-free, and one of them is one for charging. And from what looking at this, I as the superintendent makes that decision. Is that correct?
Well, there was a big thing last year, I think we changed that, is that what it was? Or, you know, they went through the whole policy and like changed the pricing, remember, and all that?
Yeah,
I think it was last year, so.
I know we were working on it, till we ever get it finished.
Yeah, I think
My
so.
question.
I don't think we would have finished it, because I think part of it was that football, when we rented it.
Yeah, well, that's where all that talk was, so I
Yeah.
thought there was like somehow documented what it was, because we just had
So
this
it's been
big
the
discussion last year.
Yeah, but,
Option to waive the fee if it's a certain organization.
yeah, but what has me questioning is that you have two applications. I make the decision that which one they fill out. So in saying that, I'm the one that makes the decision whether the fees are waived or not. Is that correct, or do you want me to bring it to you?
I don't remember how we decided that.
Yeah, because some of them were touchy, because some of them involved kids, but it wasn't with our school. It was like, I don't remember, we did like wrestling, you know.
Right.
I almost feel like what you said, we should just have one, bring it to us, and if we wanna waive the fee, we waive the fee.
Was it one for profit kind of group versus non-profit?
It doesn't say anything like that.
That's what I thought.
Well, there's some, I couldn't find it, there's some discussion, we just did it.
I remember the discussion.
Yeah, so maybe
If it
that's-
benefited our youth, whether like a camp of some sort.
Right.
Even if the youth had to pay $30, it made the camp cheaper by letting them use the facility. but we, you know, even though the kids were paying for it.
And there was something with, like I said, we'd have to go back and look, cause we just went through this, but there was something with cleaning,
Right, there was a janitor.
like
fee.
janitor fee.
Yeah.
I don't remember it all, I can't remember if you guys could help me, but I would have to look to go over, cause we went through this whole spiel.
Okay, so this is what I have, and I forwarded it on to you in email. I have AAU wrestling tournament. And I have, Missoula Children's Theater, March 21st through 26th. AAU wrestling is February 6th.
I don't remember when we did it, we just did that with the last year, so it's a long time.
I think we're both involved youth, we should waive the fee myself.
Yeah, that's what I
What's
just
the
saying, I can't remember when we
Missoula
went through this whole thing last year, two and one.
Yeah.
Missoula Children's Theater.
So they come in and like teach the kids acting or writing?
They work with
They have a little
play.
play.
they work
Oh,
with
kind
kids
of like they used to do.
Well,
Like
with
Johnny
Dakota.
Appleseed.
Mhm.
And there's a play at the end of the week.
Kinda like they used to do with the Dakota players.
Yep.
They come down,
I think
okay.
so, yeah.
Yeah, I would waive both of those.
Do we wanna vote on that, so it's in the minutes for records for the future, or do we just wanna do a consensus?
I don't
Fine
think
with
it's
the
really vote,
consensus.
yeah. I just know there was something within, maybe you don't care, I mean, it was just some
What-
deal
well,
that brought
either-
last year's about cleaning, so.
Will either one require the janitors
To be on site? I don't think Missoula would.
I thought AAU wrestling hires our custodian.
Well, that's what I think, that's where I was trying to figure out, either they did that or they had to find their own, but
Yeah,
they
that would
have
be
to,
the only-
otherwise there's a cleaning use fee or there was something. Just- I'd have
But
to look.
I'd say asking that we waive the minimum charge.
Correct. I'm good with that.
Okay.
I'm both of it.
And I believe that the AAU should know that they have to pay somebody, because they've always had to pay somebody.
I think that's what you guys agreed to last year when,
That's-
Zeb Hoffman was here.
Okay, so, let's see here, legislative update, they just started gathering in Pier. I checked the Associated School Boards, watch site, and, there's not much action yet, there's already some of the bills and their decisions on it, but that's what Rich brought back to us, so, we'll see what happens there. And yeah, I believe that's all I got. Thank you.
Any word from the architect?
We'll have a building meeting again on the 29th of January at 9 o'clock, and we'll have our third meeting for, our master plan.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else? All right,
What time did you say that building meeting was, 9 o'clock?
9 o'clock.
Okay. Thank you. Item 20, executive session.
Okay, I move we go to executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel according to SDCL 1-25-21.
Second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.